He's the love. 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 He's the love.
I grew up in Berea, in the city in Johannesburg. The influence of music largely came from my dad. He listened to like your Bob Marley, to Peter Tosh's, like that's UB40, that's kind of what I grew up listening to, and we'd like learn lyrics and stuff like that. I imagine that's probably where the music seed was sort of planted for me. I actually thought everyone wanted to do music because of how much I really wanted to do music. But I think at the age of 15, 16, that's when I knew for sure, this is really what I want to do.
The sun stays shining.
Growing up, we always went to church. I loved being late for church because it meant that I would have to stay there for a less amount of time. And I think it eventually reached a point with my mother where she felt that she didn't want to force us into going to church anymore because it was painful. So she kind of left us. I was out of church for a number of years.
We ask the Lord for one more miracle.
I didn't really get the whole Jesus thing. Jesus is the name we use to make sure that God answers our prayers. So in the name of Jesus, then it's like it's sealed, it's gonna happen. During those years when I was in church, I was exploring a lot of different sort of faiths, just really struggling to find, that thing that really spoke to my soul. The Lord used a lot of events that took place in my life that sort of did bring me to my knees at a place where I'm like, shucks, I don't have it all figured out. In university, that was when something clicked for me there. I guess it was feeling very disillusioned about life, and just, again, I've always been someone who's trying to understand our purpose, why we're here, what's this whole thing about.
To prove he's real.
Around the time when I started dating my now husband, he had also become a Christian, but he sort of started going to the Reformed or Baptist church. He started challenging me on the things I believed, and that was really hard. I can say I fully heard the gospel, like heard what Jesus did, why he came, who he was, and that he was God on Easter Sunday 2013. And I'll never forget that because I just cried the whole service and I was like, why were they not telling us this? That's when I got it. I don't doubt that the Lord was at work in my life regardless. I'm grateful that I got to the place where I could actually hear the truth of the gospel. I think the big thing for me was realizing that just because you are a Christian doesn't mean bad things will happen, or it doesn't mean that life is perfect. And so I started writing songs, and it was like one song became 3 songs, became 4 songs, became 8 songs. I was like, okay, is this what we're doing now? I've always wanted to say what God wants me to say, and it's always been something that I've sort of submitted unto Him. There's one thing I know, like my gift comes from God, so there is more of a responsibility that I feel because you're sort of carrying this message. Our faith shouldn't be the Sunday thing. Our faith should be at the center and everything comes out of that. I think there's a way that we've been able to connect the church with the everyday young person walking the streets through art. For those of us growing up, church was always put in that box over there, and we kind of had to sort of figure out what does Jesus have to say about my job or about my relationship? What does the gospel have to say about my race? So we're kind of tackling those issues so that we can communicate to the younger generation that yes, the gospel still is relevant, and what better medium than to use than art because it's so influential. You are made in the image of God and you have value because God has given you value. So not because you have X amount of degrees or this job or you live in that neighborhood, your value comes intrinsically because God has given you value. And I know for me, when I understood that, it transformed how I viewed everything. There's a huge sort of identity crisis. There are a lot of issues where it feels as though who's talking into them, and just realizing the gospel speaks into that. If you understand that you're made in the image of God and the woman across from you is made in the image of God, it's going to change everything. And I think we can only fully understand that through Christ, because that's where you see that it's not all glittery and it's gory and it was paid for.
Prove he's real.